Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, happy International Women's Day. It is with great pleasure that we welcome you all in the 4th Athena40 Global Conversation held by Global Thinkers Forum and hosted by INJAZ's incubator mySTARTUP to mark International Women's Day 2022. Athena40 was officially launched at UNESCO on International Women's Day in March 2018 as a women-led platform promoting the work of innovative women from around the world. It has been a vision of the founder Elizabeth Filippolo to create a platform that can amplify the voices of women across different cultures. Within less than 5 years and against a global pandemic, Athena40 developed into a family of initiatives focusing on strengthening the role of women worldwide. At this very moment, over 50 leading women are part of this event with an audience of more than 1,000 influencers from Europe, US, Asia, Middle East, and Africa, debating live today International Women's Day. Our event today is part of LEAP project, which is funded by Global Affairs Canada, GAC, and managed by Canadian Bureau for International Education, CBIE, in partnership with INJAZ. As a start, allow me to welcome our host for today, Mrs. Deema Bibi, for a welcome note.
أول شيء يسعد مساكم. It's such a pleasure to see you all. It's such a pleasure. This is probably our first event after the pandemic had started. أنا هيك عندي real joy داخلي إنه we have people at INJAZ who we're celebrating together. Thank you so much for coming. So هلا more officially, Excellencies, honorable guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute pleasure and honor to welcome you all on behalf of Global Thinkers Forum, Athena40, and INJAZ to highlight the achievements of women through a global conversation for the 4th year in a row. International Women's Day is a time to celebrate the progress made towards gender equality. But more importantly, really, it is time to reflect and address the gaps that still exist and call for continued action towards gender equality. Although the world has come a long way in addressing gender-related challenges, much more still needs to be done to ensure that women have equal rights and equal access to resources and to opportunities, and to unlock their full potential. Global challenges, including economic and recently COVID and others, have created new, more complex environmental and societal challenges. Research tells us that such challenges actually widen the gender gap, as women and girls are more severely impacted by such crises. So, recognizing that most hardships and disasters are not gender blind, we should ensure that our responses and solutions are not either. Countries and governments need to put women at the center of building more sustainable and resilient economies that can better address global and local challenges. When empowered and when included, women's contribution has proven to be extremely valuable and the force much needed to tackle these complex challenges. Research also tells us that early intervention to raise awareness and to build skills impacts attitudes and outcomes in favor of women's empowerment and economic participation. We at INJAZ are full believers of that. Impact assessments of our own programs show that 6 out of 7 young women who undergo INJAZ programs are employed upon graduation, while on average, and this is a national figure, only 1 out of 4 young women in Jordan succeeds in transitioning from school to career or from school to work. For over 20 years now, we have been focusing on empowering young women through education and through entrepreneurship, making sure that we actively contribute to creating an enabling environment for them to flourish. LEAP project, funded by Global Affairs Canada, is one example of how gender-focused programs can and do make a huge difference in empowering young women entrepreneurs. Another driving force in promoting women empowerment and creating professional development opportunities for women is the Global Thinkers Forum, a UK-based global organization that was actually officially launched in Jordan a decade ago, with Her Majesty Queen Rania Al Abdullah as the founding patron, and has since then impacted the lives of tens of thousands of young women in over 60 countries across the globe. For this year's global discussion, Global Thinkers Forum and Athena40 brings together 9 panels from 7 cities, centrally moderated from London, to discuss where the major challenges and opportunities for women lie and how women can play leading roles in promoting peace and collaboration while getting on decision-making positions. We are proud to host Jordan's panel for the 4th year, which includes 6 of the most inspiring, resourceful, and distinguished women who have made and continue to make difference in Jordan and beyond. This room is full of such amazing women and 2 amazing gentlemen as well. Each of whom has contributed to women's advancement in her own way, whether through representing through leadership or by breaking stereotypes and paving the way for many more women to take action and make a positive change in the world. Thank you so much for choosing to make a difference. And I take also this opportunity to really thank you for honoring us with your presence, whether in person or online. And I hope we all enjoy an insightful and interesting discussion today. Thank you.
Thank you, Deema. Now, please join me in welcoming Her Excellency, Ambassador of Canada, to deliver her note speech, please.
Well, thank you, everyone, and I'm so happy to be here and to be here in person. I attended last year online, but it certainly didn't have the energy of this room. Thank you also to INJAZ. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't think I'm creating that static, right? Thank you also to INJAZ for the invitation and for partnering with Canada on the LEAD program. I'm very proud of this project, which supports the business incubator right where we are now and skills training for young women. Projects like LEAD are taking place at a very critical juncture for Jordan. There is a clear need for greater entrepreneurial and employment skills training for women, and for women, therefore, to be better equipped to take their rightful place in support of Jordan's economic prosperity. I've seen directly how this project operates. I visited, and I've met with women who have benefited from the project, so I'm very pleased to be here today. In advance of this afternoon's event, INJAZ sent a few questions along, and my eyes were immediately glued to the question on how we can deconstruct the patriarchy. Kudos to whoever formulated that question, because it's an uncomfortable question, right? Men find it particularly difficult to hear the term patriarchy. I wanted to offer my own suggestions of steps we can take as women to deconstruct the patriarchy, but beginning with ourselves. I believe that we, women, are part of enabling the patriarchy. The way we were socialized, the way we were brought up, inhibits us from doing what we know is right for ourselves and from claiming our proper space in the world. Almost irrespective of where a woman was born, the race or religion, we were all taught to be polite, almost above all else. I can hear my mother's voice in my head telling me to never make a fuss, even when I should make a fuss. She also believed that male egos were very fragile and that it was a woman's responsibility to protect male egos. And this voice is really stuck in my head. And it's meant that I sometimes put other people's needs ahead of even my own physical and mental well-being. I can give you a concrete example. Throughout the pandemic, I have often, not always, but often, not asked a man to put his mask. even though that put me at risk. And if you sit with that for a moment, it means that rather than appear to be rude, I was actually willing to risk my own personal health. And I bet you many of the women in this room have done exactly the same thing. These teachings that women should be self-abnegating and never make a fuss comes into our work lives as well. It was never explained to me when I entered the workforce that I could and should ask my manager for support and clarification. Rather, I entered the workforce well socialized that I should not bother busy men, and we were all men then, from doing their important work. Consequently, I sometimes stumbled. I didn't always know what was expected of me, and I was really reluctant, unlike my male colleagues. I was also uncomfortable speaking to managers about my successes because the corollary of never making a fuss is never bragging. It always felt like I shouldn't celebrate my successes because it was taking too much pride and I was putting myself too far forward. So if I negotiated something successfully as a young diplomat with a foreign government, I might not tell my boss, or I might say, oh, it's nothing. But if you say your achievement is nothing, then that's what people believe, that it was inconsequential or easy. And this was partly good for my career, and it's not good for women's careers. This reluctance to be a bother and this view that we should not, as women, take obvious pride in our achievements also makes us less willing to put ourselves forward for advancement. A few years ago, I met with a very senior woman in the European Union. She spoke about her reluctance to apply for promotions until she met every single job requirement. And studies demonstrate that this is true. Women don't apply until we're almost overqualified, where men will put themselves forward even if they're actually not qualified. But that gives them the experience, putting themselves forward, interviewing, getting feedback, and interviewing. In the case of this EU senior official, she had a mentor at the right time who encouraged her, and now she pays it forward and encourages other women. For all of us, if we want to deconstruct the patriarchy, mentorship is something we can easily do for everything. I had a staff member once who had a big success and she didn't tell me. When I found it accidentally. I advised her that never bury your successes. It means really your accomplishments are not seen. We need to support other women and teach our daughters and our nieces that it's okay to be direct about what you need, and it's okay to seek promotion. Girls and women should know and hear from us as other women that they do not have to take a back seat. We can also speak out when we see women being pushed aside, including on social media. A former Canadian Chief of Defence Staff a couple of years ago tweeted a photo of him with an all-male group of senior military officials talking about his commitment to the advancement of women in the Canadian Armed Forces. The social media backlash from women forced him to apologize and to say he would do better. How many of us have gone to events with all-male panels? To the point we even have a name for it, right? Manos. Do we hold organizations to account for not having any women present? Do you know that the UN system has a policy that they should not have manos? Do you put their feet to the fire when you show up and we're facing a group of all men, including, in my experience, all male panels talking about the rights of women? Well, we can and we should do this. It's simple, but it's the having people remind them all the time that women should be present that will make groups more likely to include us. Lastly, women often feel unable to ask for help from our families, especially our spouses. We work and take on most of the child care and housework. We know it's not fair, but we do it anyway. And in so doing, our spouses are robbed of a chance to be really engaged in the joys of parenthood as well as sharing food. I think we need to change the narrative around childbearing, stop talking about it solely as a burden, and really speak about the quality of life benefits of being a parent, as well as the benefits to our children of having two parents rather than one worn out and frazzled parent. Deconstructing the patriarchy is a big concept, but I hope I've convinced you that we can all take steps to deconstruct it, because some of that lies within us, and deconstructing how we were brought up to be good girls and then polite women. We can work on our inbuilt responses, take more space for ourselves. We can speak out, including on social media. We can offer honest support and mentorship to other women. And that means speaking to them honestly, not just cheerleading, but really providing constructive ideas for growth. We can ask and even expect help inside our homes. Forums such as Athena40 are really critically important. Women working together across borders and time zones are powerful agents of change. I'm really honored to be with you today, and thank you for your attention. I think I'm just on time.
You sure?
Thank you, Your Excellency. Before moving on to introduce our distinguished panelists, please watch with me a brief video on what Athena40 is about.
With some of the most dynamic and innovative minds across all industries in order to promote gender diversity, inclusion, and bring more women into decision-making roles. We commit to enabling women to contribute to our economies. We believe that compassion and understanding are necessary values for our societies. We promote partnerships and ideas exchange among women, and of course, we include men in all conversations. We fight cliches and tribalism. We propose collaboration instead of segregation. We ignore labels and stereotypes. We recognize the value of diversity as a fantastic source of talent and knowledge. We stand for freedom of thought and expression. Our language speaks the truth. We stand for values-based decision-making, and we fight polarization. We are broad-minded and inclusive. We believe in meaningful networking and the need to keep lifting each other up. We mentor, inspire, and motivate other women of all ages and backgrounds, helping them discover their own potential. We share and learn from each other's stories. Athena40 welcomes everyone who wishes to be part of our mission and initiatives, an international community of vision, an ongoing global conversation, a movement for compassionate, innovative, future-proof leadership. Join us.
Across private, public, and not-for-profit partners in many countries, 9 panels will run in parallel starting now, discussing the empowerment agenda, promoting diversity and role of change. Please allow me to welcome our distinguished panel chair, Mrs. Mary Nazzal-Batayneh. Mrs. Mary is an executive chairperson, 17 Ventures and Landmark. And our distinguished panel speakers will start with Her Excellency Reem Aboul-Hosn, former Jordanian Minister of Social Development, Mrs. Randa Aboul-Hosn, Resident Representative UNDP Jordan, Mrs. Meisa Batayneh, founder and principal architect at Maisam Architects and Engineers, Ms. Dana Suyyagh, CEO AlMamlaka TV, Mrs. Shireen Muhaisen, founder of Bunni Coffee. Worth mentioning that the main points from each panel will be summarized in a brief paragraph and sent to London, where our main global panel. The findings will be incorporated into a white paper that will be shared across all networks. Enjoy.
That's why before we get there, we can find someone to reclaim. This is the country where everyone is saying they're hiding on the voice of baby. Ina, you're there. So, hello, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Thank you for joining us. I'm going to do a brief introduction. So, Ina was a mentee on the Athena.
Hello, can you hear us?
Can we please move all our cities and just be Deema? Unmuted. Thank you. Thank you so much. So Deema is the co-founder of the startup providing online English courses to young professionals in Ukraine. She represented her country to the UN in 2015 as a youth delegate and was a fellow to the Office of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights. She delivered 2 statements to the UN on social, humanitarian affairs and human rights, and she graduated from the Athena mentoring program in 2020 at the age of 29. She's now married and she has a 7-week-old baby, Suyyagh, if I'm pronouncing his name right. He was baptized today, and since February 25th, she and her family, they live in a war zone. So I reached out to Ina. We had a profound conversation last Sunday, and I said I would like you to deliver a message to us on International Women's Day, because we're talking about celebrations, but what is happening in Ukraine doesn't allow us to celebrate. This is a time for serious concern, and we're all concerned, and this is a time for action, more than ever before, perhaps. Ina, can I invite you to give the message?
And creates opportunities for new collaborations. As Deema also mentioned, this is an international event, the only one of its kind.
Ina, can you hear us?
Happening right now across different cities around the world.
Yes.
And the reason that I like it is it really shows how women's issues are very universal. What I'm facing, a lady in Karachi could also be facing. So it's really about sort of that momentum.
Please bear with us.
So we are very
Technology
excited to
playing
be
out.
part of this panel and hosted in Amman, Jordan, in a very special institution, INJAZ, where I am proud to serve as a board member. Thank you, Deema, and the whole INJAZ team for everything that you do. And thank you all for being with us today. And thank you, Ambassador, as well, for remarks.
I'm back.
Yes, you are. And we're all listening to you.
So
Please
to set some
go ahead.
context for today, a few years
Thanks a million for
I remember
having me here. My name is Ina.
getting into it.
I'm 31. I am a mom and I'm a Ukrainian. By my dad, and the place where I feel the most loving and loved. And after having studied and done internships and working in different countries in Europe and in the US, I decided to go back home. And to some of my peers, this decision seemed a little bit too crazy and ridiculous back then, because I could have pursued my career in any international organization or company like the UN or Google. But my choice and my heart was here because Ukraine has splendid career opportunities, amazing, talented, hardworking, well-educated people, and I like to be a part of it, and I belong here. That's why my choice was like this. And on Sunday, I was just outside with my baby, breathing some air, as I heard the air raid siren followed by some noise, and I thought this is just the aircraft, which I heard before. But it turned out it was a missile targeting the airport right on the outskirts of my city. As the result, 9 people died and the airport was destroyed entirely. And as of now, 38 children were killed in this war. The youngest of them was just 18 months, and it all started in cities like Kharkiv and Kyiv with the shelling and attacking the military facilities and infrastructure. And the next step was the civilian infrastructure like hospitals, kindergartens and schools and residential areas. And God, I want to be wrong, but I have this nasty feeling many people are being killed, of my people, Ukrainians.
His name was
And,
Mike Michael. He comes to me and he says,
You know,
"Maisa,
my
why did I
son's
not
name
become
is Sviatoslav, as mentioned
And
before,
that
and in
taught
my
me
language,
something, is that
these
I brought
it
something
consists
new
of two
and
words
bringing
meaning
something
Sviato
else
and
to
Slava,
the
which is
table.
celebration
And that
and
was
glory.
definitely a defining moment for
And
me.
I do
And I
hope
knew then that I was going to
that
be an architect
way
and
sooner
I was going to stick to it.
than
And
May, we're
I
gonna
have.
have like every family in my country gonna have a huge and happy celebration of free Ukraine, thanks to the glory of my brave and committed people. Slava Ukraini, glory to Ukraine. Дякую.
This was one of the toughest questions because you don't
Slava
evaluate life.
Ukraini. Ina, thank you. Can I ask you for that? We support you and we support your cause. And one final remark from you, if I may, when we had a conversation on Sunday, and I asked you about your people, the crisis that you're currently, the nightmare, the hell that you're currently living through, you said to me something which has stayed with me. You said that this is a moment for truth, for Ukrainians in the society to reassess your values and your own sense of belonging. I would like you to repeat that because I think this is such a strong message for all our societies and all our nations.
Yeah, that's us. Ta-da!
I think we've lost the connection. Can you hear me now? I think we've lost the connection again. You don't hear me.
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, can you hear me?
Okay, I'm back.
Yes, you are. I wonder if you heard what I asked you to repeat, the message which you gave me last Sunday about that momentum, which is history in the making of the whole world. And you said that for Ukrainians, this is a time to reassess your values as society and your sense of belonging.
Yes, I mean, we had so many obstacles and challenges, starting with the Orange Revolution and the Revolution of Dignity, and then Crimea and Donbass and everything. And maybe the lesson was not learned well enough for us and for the rest of the world, that we have those values that we stand for. And no matter what, we have to be united as a society. And whenever we have the truth behind us, we have to stand for it till the very end. And what we see now in my country, like everyone is so super motivated and patriotic, doing every single day little tiny things that everyone can do within his or her capacity. But at the end of the day, it all brings us the spirit of shared values and the spirit of upcoming victory. And honestly, I haven't met a person who has any doubt in the victory, because that wasn't us invading our country. We did nothing to the Russian Federation and Mr. Putin himself.
We are starting a revolution.
Every
We decided to
help that we
disconnect.
get, external help, it just mobilizes our efforts.
Are you sure?
And thanks to that, we feel as strong as
since we're
never
starting a
before.
revolution, I need everyone's mics to be raised because we couldn't hear properly, please.
Please stay strong as you are and resilient as you are. Thank you, Rina.
Thank you.
And now it's time to make around the world. A bit like the Eurovision, but without music and the outfits. We're going to connect with London first and the Evening Standard. Is that correct? Is that Will's there? Actually, I want to make
One thing we're doing today.
Are you there?
Hello, I am here.
Hello.
Hello, can you see me?
No, we can't see you, sadly. Can we see
Oh, yeah, well, that's a shame because it's showing and I'm looking very
We're going
good.
to start again.
that?
Okay, my video is recording, or rather is showing, but maybe it seems to be a technical hitch somewhere. So there you are. Right, hello. Well, welcome to West London. And this is the offices of the Evening Standard, and with the support of the London Press Club. And you can see about me here a panel, and we have a panel of 5, and we're being chaired by Carol Stone, who is the former BBC producer, and we have the executive editor, Dawn, of the Society of Editors. We have Nimco Ali, a columnist, and well known for her campaigning, and we have Anna here, and Anna is content editor of the Evening Standard. So all of these panelists are very much supporters of the ethos of today, and hopefully we'll be sorting the world's view accordingly in the next hour or so. So good luck to every panel, and at the Conduit Club to all over the world. So good luck and thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Good luck to you. You have fantastic panel of media executives there, and we're moving on to Zagreb, Croatia, where the panel is moderated by Leonor Stevic, the CEO of the Montessori Group. Leonor, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
Great. Well, hello, London, and actually hello, Carol, who actually sits on the board of the Montessori Group. So I'm delighted to see her chairing the Evening Standard panel as well. Here in Zagreb, we actually have an invited audience, quite a large invited audience, which is lovely. And on my panel, we have Jennifer from INJAZ, which is a wellness and health organization that works with women to empower women. We have Christina from KPMG, Croatia, Ivana, who's the CEO of the Zagreb Stock Exchange, Victoria, who's head of EBRD here in Croatia. We have Villa, who is one of our young change makers of the future. We have the very acclaimed artist Oko, who actually shows in London as well as in Croatia. We have Latina from UNICEF, head of UNICEF here in Croatia. And we have Carla from Solidarna, which is one of the leading NGOs here in the country as well. We're delighted to join all the other panels, including my other colleague, Max, who I know is also in London. And we are looking forward to the discussion. Thank you very much.
You have a rockstar roundtable there. Thank you, and we will come back to you in about 55 minutes. Now, let's move on to Beirut, where the Arab Institute of Women and its director, Miriam Spear, is chairing a panel of grassroots activists. Miriam, can you hear us? We can see you.
And I noticed, and it's palpable now, when they go out and when the reporters.
You need to unmute yourself, Miriam. Can you hear us?
These are a world of difference to young women. And I've been involved with INJAZ.
I don't think that Miriam can hear us, but let's move on to Amman. Can Amman, Jordan hear us? We will try to connect with Mary Nazzal-Batayneh, and then we will try Beirut again.
Don't ask you a tough question. So that's been very empowering. By the same token,
Does INJAZ hear us?
Female executive
in Jordan, and I see everyone ready and everyone engaged in conversations, which is fantastic.
plight of women in the workforce.
Hello, Amman.
Because you have to maintain gender across all of your rules and regulations.
Excuse me 1 second. Hi, everybody. We're broadcasting from Amman, Jordan. Can you hear us?
Yes, we can. Hello, Mary.
Hi, Elizabeth. How are you?
We're good. Happy International Women's Day. We'd love to know who are your panelists.
Absolutely. We have a stellar panel today of amazing women from diverse backgrounds. We have Meisa Batayneh, who's the founder of Maisam Architects, Reem Hassan, who has multiple roles, but we have her down as the president of the Jordanian Society for Protecting Family Violence Victims, Randa Aboul-Hosn, the resident representative of UNDP Jordan, Shireen, who's the co-founder of Bunni Coffee, an entrepreneur with us, and Suyyagh, who's the CEO of AlMamlaka TV.
That's great. Thank you. And I see that you have already already started with your conversation, so we're looking forward to coming back in about 5 minutes and hear your main conclusions from Amman. Thank you, and a big thank you to INJAZ for hosting us for the 4th year.
Thank you so
and
much.
We're going to come to Dubai. Can Helen hear us? Our panel there is in Expo 2020. And the chair is social entrepreneur and triathlete, Helen Alusesi.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, and welcome everyone. We are super excited to be
I'm going to move on with the discussion here. Sorry, the voice it wasn't so clear from London.
I have some amazing women. We're all trying to top each other with the
Dana
fabulous
said.
women we have with us
Dana,
today.
in her position, she
First
has
of all,
made
happy
an effort
International
to
Women's
support
Day
women
to
in
everyone
her
with us.
station.
Today we have
I feel that I do my best in my
who is the
companies, but do
VP
you
of
believe
CNN
that women
Arabic
do
Services.
support women?
We've got Diana Hamadi, who is the founder of Diana Hamadi Attorneys at Law. We have Suzanne Stuhlmeier, who is the VP of Communications at Talabat, delivery hero for the international community. We have Roxana Shurzek Kadir, who is an entrepreneur, and she's the founder of Possible X. And we have Fatma Amin, who's a security specialist from Bahrain Petroleum Company. So a very diverse group of people, fabulous women, and I'm super excited to be with everyone today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Helen. I will try to connect today with I hope Mary and Hassan can hear us. And if not, we will move on to correct. Miriam, can you hear us?
Catching on in the workplace, we had to make the extra mile of doing our homework. When I started, I was too shy to even speak.
Let's move on to correct.
No, I'm here. I was just unmuted. Okay. Hi, hello, Elizabeth, everybody in London and elsewhere. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. I am Syed Muaz Shah, Director at the Center for Human Rights at Jordanian University in the Faculty of Law.
Had to pay the price of 2 times. My boss was always ahead of me. So, in that sense, my issue is really with stereotypes. And I think as women, you asked us to give recommendations. We need to go out there and break those stereotypes. And I think one of the problems in the world today, globally, and especially in our region, is that we don't know how to listen to each other. And if we went out there and we listened to those women in those local places that have themselves broken the glass ceilings, have themselves coped with change, coped with crisis, coped with poverty and so on and so forth, and brought these different types and styles and ways forward, we open, the spectrum of young people who could, do more and have more space.
You discussed the issue of stereotypes, so I think that's definitely something that we need to go into, and the issue of biases, which we'll come to in a minute. But you said, it's important for us to be listening to women either in the field or on the job. So we're lucky to have with us Shireen, who is an entrepreneur who's co-founded an amazing coffee company. I'd love to hear about your experiences. What have the challenges been through, being a woman in charge of a business in food and beverage, which I think is a tricky sector?
Thank you, Mary. Good question. For me, I have challenges on 2 fronts, on the personal side, on the business side. On the personal level, as every woman here, we play many roles in our life. For me, as a wife, as a mother, as a student, as a daughter, and each one, I'm expected to provide certain level of responsibilities and commitments. And the challenge for me here is to balance these responsibilities and try to minimize the guilt feeling. Because yes, I have a very good support system. That's why I'm here today. But yes, I feel guilty, a lot. And this is my main challenge, is just to try to accept sometimes I may have some limitation in certain situations, and I should forgive myself for that.
But the guilt, just to define it more, is it that you never feel maybe you're doing enough as a mother, or you don't feel you're doing enough at work? So when you're at work, you're thinking you need to be with the kids, and when you're with the kids, you're thinking you need to work.
Exactly.
Is that?
Exactly. Just to spend, like, I'm not spending more time with my mother. I'm not spending time with my kids. So, okay, on the side, next week I'll have a day just with my kids. Yeah.
So do you think there's a role for the private sector, though, to be giving support systems like you did in your company for your working women? Maybe you could speak to that.
Yes, I started my company in the late 80s, and I don't know why and where that came from, but I remember saying this, I'm going to create an environment where people feel they want to stay there forever and feel safe and feel happy. This was, like, so I gave 25% of my company to the people. Way back, I'm saying in 1987, and when no one was talking about these things. And I wanted the women to stay in on the job when they have children. So I created something called At Home and flexible time. I'm talking, all of this was happening. And to be honest, I have to tell you that most of the people who own that 25% are women. And the lady who is running the Abu Dhabi office is a female. And it's just amazing to see with time the impact of that on empowering women.
So we can see that there are clear measures that the private sector can take, whether in terms of childcare, transportation, other sort of structural changes that we can make to make it a family-friendly environment. So here we're also talking about males and females, because I remember when we opened the daycare at Landmark, it was the male employees initially who benefited from it. And you could see really the bonds that were created by that. So I think we have a sense in the private sector what we need to do. I think we need probably some support from the government to be able to do that, because it is costly and companies are suffering. But within the public sphere, when we talk about regulations, laws, and so on, can you speak about the constraints there?
Thank you, Mary. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, and thank you for the invitation. I think an important part to recognize is the fact that whatever happens in the private sector comes as a reflection of the laws that are being issued by the government. And so in a country like Jordan, you see that the public sector is actually leading the way, not the private sector. And you see that whether you are looking at the number of employment of women, where 2/3 of women employed in Jordan are in the public sector for many reasons, and that you have more of a pay equity in the public sector while you don't have that pay equity in the private sector. And so when the government issued the law on labor, and at the beginning it was providing childcare for, I remember, 20 female employees, and therefore the employer would employ only 19 women, so that the legal obligation is not implemented. And we had moved on from that, where now the law on labor defines the number of children that employees have, regardless of the gender. So things in a country like Jordan do take time for many reasons, whether it is financial resources, whether it's the cultural perspective, and whether it is the dynamics of the relationship and the interest. So I always say that the public sector has to lead the way in order for things to be better for women in general. And when you look, Mary, at the arguments we had in the parliament for adding the term Jordanian woman, which was a symbolic addition. And then you realize that sometimes you need always to stop, take a step back, look at the belief that you have, Try to deconstruct it so that you can come up with solutions that benefits all.
Thank you. I think we need to go into that a bit more. Keep the mic on your So what we have today is largely, I think, a room of people who agree with each other. We believe that women need a seat at the table. But you have people here in all parts of the world that have a very opposing view, let's say. So they also need to deconstruct their beliefs, right? And we've spoken about how can you bring together these polarized opinions. So perhaps you could speak to that point.
Thank you. It's called constructive depolarization. And that means that you need to have everybody with the different opinions on the spectrum sit at the same table. And that's why you need leadership. So to ensure that all those people with different opinions and different interests sit on the table together, deal with the same facts in order to come up with a solution. The solution that might be reached is not the best solution, but it's always the first step. And I always call it opening the door. And I remember in 2008, when Jordan drafted the first law on family, protecting families from family violence. It was a very, as they call it, a very weak law. But we said, fine, we need to open the door. And once we open the door and there is that piece of legislation, then later on we would come and amend it or have a new law that actually is more compatible with international standards. I think we, in the what we've seen with the constitutional amendments and with the adding provision 6 of Article 6 of the Constitution, where it stipulates that it's a duty on the state to empower women and protect women from violence and discrimination, that at least this is the first step.
Okay, I'm glad that you feel that way. But I think, Randa, it'll be interesting. You've had regional experience, obviously, in your career, relatively new to Jordan. What do you see that the structural barriers are?
I see, and I think everybody will agree that capable women, skilled women, educated women, achieving women, leader women, they are all out there. It's a matter of access. Access, yes. I think it's a matter of access. I think there are social and economic and many barriers that prevent women from taking that leap of faith and jumping into معركة سياسة واقتصادي وغيره. I think this is where we come in and we try to open doors through legislation. I think legislations are very important because legislations are a security of not going backwards. And it's very important that we start putting these legislations forward, even if they take time to be implemented, that's fine, because it's really up to us to implement it. We can't push the legislation and wait for the men to implement it. We have to make sure we know our rights, and we have the legal literacy that we need to get our rights. I think women have moved a lot and improved and progressed a lot in the region, but women remain the first victim of conflict. Yes, and our region has a lot of conflict, and when you look at the spectrum of problems of women, it's really conflict. Whether you are in a war zone and being physically, the victim, or you're socially, economically the victim. It all falls back on the women being the first victim of the conflict. And I think it's really up to us to continue to call for women being the agent of change rather than the victim.
No, absolutely. I mean, you point to a very important point, which is that women are disproportionately affected. They have been by COVID, by the wars that we see around us. So I wonder, Meisa, looking forward, what challenges do you see the next generation of female leaders facing?
I'm going to talk about challenges, but I would like to also look at the significant opportunities, if I may,
please,
because this is how I like to see it. Two things I would like to mention here. One is that, as you all mentioned, that we came out of COVID really with a lot on our shoulders, and it's heavy, I understand. But the only way to achieve durable economic revival is to empower women to come to the front. We have no option but to have women come. I mean, this is how the narrative that we should have. Let me give you an example. Today, Jordan is looking into a social and economic reform as we speak. Every Saturday they meet. Where is our loud voice? What are we asking for? I don't want to hear about us being cross-cutting. Tell me what projects, what funds, where is my gender fund that is allocated to, you understand, I'm an architect who likes to build what she designs. You have to understand. So I take it from concept to reality. And I'd like to see more of this. Now, the question that I think was asked by my friends is it bold? Is it deep enough? Is it fast enough to achieve what we want? So that would be, for me, one thing that I see happening. The other thing is the whole world, the whole global economy is moving into digital, more fast pace. We need to have an eye on the future. Resilience comes from predictability. Predict, you become more resilient. And we're saying that is one of our strengths. So maybe we need to do that. Let's take an example. STEM is definitely vital for the next phase, right? Which is science, technology, engineering. We have the highest, one of the highest per capita in the world, architects and engineers. And 60% of university graduates are women. So you can imagine the power that we have. All we need to do is just look at the gaps, whether in skill or in professional growth, and fill those gaps.
About this group that's meeting every Saturday.
Yeah.
I'm sure you all know that we're trying this national program. So I was invited to be on the tourism group. And I asked, is there a group solely focused on gender? I think it is a cross-cutting theme. So I think it should be as part of every, it's not, it's part of a wider impact group. I mean, this is the problem. I know that we're through the door, but really, I feel like we need to run through the door at this stage. We're not, I don't believe that it's a government priority at the moment. And I think with political representation, you see very few women. I think we all need to be putting this agenda as one of the #1 priorities for Jordan. I mean, we need to be creating jobs for everyone. We need women at the head of this. We need the compassion that you brought in your project, the empathy that you brought at the beginning of your career. We need diversity of thought if we're going to have change. Dana, the media. So we're looking forward. Social media is everywhere. Let's talk about biases in the media.
We can, but I'd like to talk about
of course
that Meisa mentioned earlier. There is absolutely, you have to, and everything, again, everybody's talking about it and it's absolutely necessary, this fast tracking through the issues and having a time frame that is palpable and achievable and whatever for benchmarks across the line. We tend to talk a lot. And that's problematic, and it doesn't belittle the necessity for talking it out, but we tend to talk it out more than do it out, which is problematic. I think that there's virtue in normalizing the issues that we want tackled, meaning you want more female representation on the table, show more females on screen, in print, in media, and that is the role of media. In trying to allay those biases as much as it possibly can. I believe in normalization. I believe in making, I've had 3 sexist conversations in the past 2 hours, honestly, before I came on this panel. And the thing is, you have to constantly push back. And the thing is, sexism is so normalized right now in our everyday narrative that it becomes really difficult to bypass that onto a different conversation. You can't say, give me equal rights when inherently you see me as lesser, because we haven't had conversations where I'm your equal. That's part of it. I know it's broad. It's not very specific, but normalization is broad. Normalization is not about one aspect of me being a female or being able to do something. It's about all those other cerebral conversations that we're not having.
Can I ask you a question? So when you
I don't know why I'm screaming, sorry. I think it's the microphone.
Barely hear you. So when you've had these conversations that you just mentioned were sexist, do you think the people making the comments actually realize that they were, or it's normalized to the extent that they don't even realize? So that's the education of our sons.
Absolutely, and pushing back. You have to actually, you have to call them out on it. There was, I'll give you an example, and I don't mean to shame anybody this morning, but I have, and these are again team members who deal with me, have dealt with me for the past 5 years. They just don't see it because it's so normalized. My own team, well, not all of them, but part of one of the conversations with a member of my own team, where he was trying to send out what he thought was a lovely message for International Women's Day to all women of the keynote, and he was saying, and again, he's one of the more forward-thinking journalists that I've dealt with in a long time. And he said something like, I hope you win, or something along those lines. And I said, but it's not a battle. And we're hoping to be equal, not anything lesser. Again, very well informed. I know it's baffling when you think about it. But when you push back and you say, but I'm not trying to win. I just want equal rights. That's the reality. He came back with, oh, I'm just trying to be empathetic. But see, that's when it's damaging, when he doesn't understand it, but he wants to be nice about it. And that's where the pushback happens, the education happens, I think, across.
So I think when he said, I hope you win, he doesn't realize that it's a win-win situation for everyone, you know, if we reach gender equality. So I want to come back to you, Shireen. You're someone who's co-founded a business in a difficult sector. You mentioned your personal challenges about having to balance your multiple roles, which I identify with. Let's talk a bit about your professional challenges, but also, more importantly, the action that you've taken as a business owner to create an environment that could allow women to thrive.
Okay, for our business challenge, building on what have been said already, public transportation is the main challenge for us.
Set your mic, please. Sorry.
Public transportation is
public transportation.
Yeah, because it's becoming challenging for us to the areas surrounding us, because they rely on public transportation, and for them it's unreliable, unsafe, it's poor, and even if they have the potential to apply for the job, even if they want to apply, this would stop them, this would limit them. So this is a main challenge. I mean, finding females in our hospitality industry, in our field, is by itself is a challenge, because they are not exposed to the job market. They don't. It's many sectors. It's very male dominated. So they like the skills, the experience. They come with confidence and security issues, because they believe deep inside that they have limited opportunities, job opportunities available in the market, compared to what the other side, the endless list they may have. So they already come with the security and confidence issue. So these are the main challenges we face.
What about you? So you have female employees who need support. But what about you when you're dealing with male clients? How has your experience been?
My main issue is sometimes without, like, sometimes it happens, no generalization, but yeah, sometimes they prefer to have a conversation. I don't know, for some reason or another, they don't trust that I can maybe fulfill the job, or they're just for the cultural norms, they prefer to have a conversation with my partner. So to be honest, sometimes I feel I'm getting used to be uncomfortable in a specific situation. And it is a challenge, but I mean, it's, there's things you can control, there's things you can't control outside of your hand.
So let's say, just for example, because there could be some young female entrepreneurs that are watching this, okay? So let's say they say, I want to speak to your husband, okay?
Yeah.
So what would you say in that situation?
Yeah, I would ask him to try to understand the concept, understand the needs, trying to understand what they are looking for. And again, it doesn't happen.
It will happen less and less.
Yes.
It doesn't happen to me anymore. You know, it will happen less and less, huh?
Take it or leave it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in architecture, which you said was very male dominated, did you also see these biases come through, and how did you manage it? I think this is a key question.
I think hard work overshadows everything else. You know, I just go for it. I as a student, I worked twice as hard as, you know, in the beginning. But there's something that happens along the way. It starts reversing itself. I started being supported by men even more, because I was the only female in the room, everywhere, on boards, on sites. So I think, I don't know where it comes. And I think something you said, it is what you project, you will receive. When I go into a room, I do not project that I am a woman. And I think I already control the environment in the room by just projecting that power of knowledge, not power of words. It's just when you know what you do and you're confident and you present it with a lot of passion, you immediately remove this gender issue. People forget. And I think this is what happened with me. I'm being very...
No, that's good. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Mary. Two comments I have. One about what Shireen is saying. And the fact is that the implicit bias comes from the fact that in certain professions, brilliance is linked to men. And one of the ways in dealing, I guess, with businesses and transaction is that the woman has to work hard to show that she is brilliant. Therefore, she needs to be trusted. And I also remember when I was a minister and I was in an all-male government, I was the only woman. The important thing for me was actually to project that I am capable and I know my stuff. And the other thing is that also knowing the environment that where you're coming from. In our culture, we have a saying, when we want to describe a woman who is capable, we say أخت رجال, meaning the sister of men. And that is actually a compliment, meaning that she is trusted, her opinion, she has wisdom, and therefore she can be trusted. And what I say, use that. If it's at the first time where you are, somebody asks you that he wants to speak to your partner or to your husband, say it. Say أنا أخت رجال, and therefore I am capable. And that's what you will actually reflect that in your inner strength, and you can actually send the message across.
Nana, would you like to speak to that point? Because the media is a very male-dominated sector.
We're rebel rouser. It's very difficult to just use it and then, because it becomes, that's why I was saying language is so important. If I'm constantly intrinsically tied to a man by association, I totally understand and appreciate that, because it's also a cultural thing. It's not just a sexist thing. I totally appreciate that. The problem is we're so hell-bent on labeling all the time that I don't want that to be my label. And I totally, no, I know, but it does become, and I hear it all the time. I hear, but it's no compliment. Because I'd like to hear other words, and that's why I'm saying normalizing language is also very important, whether it be in media or in the rules and regulations that govern. We have to step away slightly, in as much as we can, from being constantly associated with men as that's the measure of competence. It's not a measure of competence. And I think by doing, you should, because you did that, and you did that as well. You did that, obviously. And so if you walk into a room, you command respect by virtue of knowledge, that's pivotal, really pivotal. And I think we have to stop being apologetic about how much we know. and women still do that. We're speaking to earlier, we're very apologetic, and we constantly try to look for the associations that will make us feel or appear stronger. And I think the more we associate that with men, again, most of my opportunities in life were given to me by men, and I appreciate that. But I think the association has to end. We have to stop being somebody's sister, daughter. Today in Parliament, and you've all been subject to this, you've lived through it. Today, one of the MPs came on and said, I would like to congratulate women on International Women's Day. A woman is my mother, my sister, and my daughter, and that's it. That's where that ended. That's where the congratulations ended. She is not my colleague who's sitting right next to me in Parliament, or the minister who's sitting as well in the audience in Parliament. Our association, our self-worth has to stop being associated with men on a daily basis.
Even though they're women in Parliament, they're not seen. He didn't even see them.
Unfortunately, they're not. She was sitting right next to him.
You're okay. Okay. So I just invite the panelists to be thinking about their call to action while I ask Randa one more question. So here we are sitting in West Amman, progressive, sort of a niche, I would say. But you, in your position as the UNDP representative, and I know we haven't discussed this question before, but I really think it's important to look at the broader situation in Jordan. When you're thinking about women's rights for the majority, so not for the privileged, what do you see as the priority when it comes to women's rights in Jordan?
I think everything is a priority, but I think the first point of order has to be the mindset.
Mindset.
Yeah, I think I've been in other parts of the region, and my first observation coming to Jordan, knowing it but not living it, is that the Jordanian society is extremely conservative. Extremely conservative, even in terms of humor, it's conservative. Yeah, so I think there is a need to try to work on the mindset, and I think the world is changing with or without us. I mean, the mindset of the world is changing, and this is where I go back to saying women cannot be the victims of change; they have to be the agent of change. If we wait until the world has changed and then we try to catch up because we're still stuck on some basic issues, I think we'll be too late. So in terms of Jordan, I think that all of you very accomplished women should look out for tools and promote certain benchmarks and criteria for businesses and institutions to have gender parity, gender equality, work-life balance, the whole, work that protects women from harassment and so on and so forth. And there are lots of those. UNDP has a gender seal, the UN Women has another. There are lots of these tools out there. The minute you start to put them in and certify them, it becomes, an award for businesses. They will start to go for it. You want to look at the reward system. And the same goes for the local discourse. I really think women in local communities have so much indigenous knowledge and experience, coping mechanisms. They've done it on their own, with and without men, with and without sons to support them, with and without daughters to shame them or make them proud. I mean, there's a whole wealth. Let's break the stereotypes and bring these women to participate in the new local governments, to participate in structures. I think there's a whole, the thing about what I've noticed in Jordan, what I've noticed in UNDP Jordan, all of the elements are there. And bringing it together. Yes, there is a wealth, it's all there. Just put it together, change the reward system, and let it be a win-win. I mean, I'll give you one example. I was reading yesterday, preparing for today. According to the IMF, gender equality in a country increases economic GDP by 34%. I mean, if that is not a reward for people in government to actually make an effort, a real effort to bring women, This whole cultural dimension, I think, it is changing. It is changing and it will change. يعني ما في مجال يدبروا راسهم الرجال بدها تتغير الأمور خلصنا. It will change. You just have to persevere. And as Meisa said, come in there with your knowledge, with your self-esteem. It's okay to say the wrong thing. They don't say the wrong things.
Half the time they don't know what they're saying.
Exactly. So go in there. It's okay. It's okay. And
it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to be vulnerable.
Yeah,
it's be your true self. You have value. These are the messages.
Vulnerability is strength.
Absolutely.
Vulnerability is strength, and the world is changing. And I say, look at the younger ones. In my offices, I've worked with the younger ones. Millennials drive me mad, but they are spot on, They, unlike our generation that had to cut corners to get there, the new generations are saying, basta, we can't keep going the way you did. I mean, you're gonna, bury the earth.
Right.
And our grandmothers were the ones who actually saved the earth. And it's a long conversation, but I think women have all of the elements. We just need to have the access and put in place the right means and convince everyone that it is in everyone's best interest. It's not them or us. It's
that's it. It's
all of us.
That's my 2 cents. We're ending on that point of optimism. 60.
Thank you. I was reflecting on what Randa was saying. Yes, our society is conservative, very much so. And many of the studies done by the Center of Strategic Studies show that our society is conservative and religious, more than many of the countries around us. And that's a reality that we cannot ignore. When we all believe in the equality of women, the empowerment of women, but in order to achieve that, we need to be realistic. And to be realistic means is that we work together. We try to convince, let's say, if it's the other party, so that we all have the same facts. And once we have that, come up with a solution. It's always negotiations. It's always settlements, small steps, whether we like it or not. But what encourages me is that now we understand, we should cherish the power of the sisterhood. And we understand that there is a new generation, a new language of leadership by women leaders, which is based on teamwork, which is based on kindness, empathy. And these are the values that we need to bring to the table in order to ensure that the different parties, the polarized parties, can reach a middle ground.
Your call to action, Maisam.
I have many.
Yeah.
Do you have the time?
We do. We have.
Oh my God, I have so many. Yeah, building on what was said, I think we need to be action oriented. We need to have measurable actions so that we leap instead of taking small steps. In many ways, yes, are good, but there are, the younger generation are waiting for us to give them the platform to leap. So we need something like that. The second one would be, because the world is going so fast, an eye on the present, but an eye on the future, although it is tough, and I know it's tough, but that is the only way to be resilient. Otherwise, we're going to be faced with issues that we cannot deal with. So how can we have an eye on today and an eye on tomorrow? That would be. The third is remain authentic. Remain authentic. Lead from your authentic core, and everything will be okay. This is what I truly believe. There is a power bank out there. Tap into it. We have a power bank. Keep on filling it, because what's happening, and thank you for sharing your story. We get depleted. We want to be the best mothers, the best. We don't have to be the best. You understand what?
Absolutely. I mean, you can only take care of others if you take care of yourself.
And today, I think, to tell you after the COVID, what I'm noticing, mental health, our mental health, our emotional health, our spiritual health are all important for us to go on. And my call for action to all of us, to me, myself, is to take care of us, be kind to us. We don't have to be the best in everything, just be kind to us so that we can take care of others.
Absolutely. See, this is why women need to lead.
Reem said something a little while ago. She said you have to sometimes step back. My call to action is always, you have to demand better. Because sometimes we forget. Sometimes we forget where we started and what we aim to achieve. Sometimes you have to step back and say, no, I can't go along with what you're saying because you have to demand better of yourself. So you're not depleted, as you said, and you have to demand better of others. Don't let them wear you down. Don't let the language wear you down. Don't let their actions wear you down. Demand better of them, push back, I think would be my call to action.
Set limits.
I have you, if you allow me.
Yes, please.
Again, building on what everyone said, the way I see it is that we have existing situation. Changes don't happen overnight. We can't change the world, but we can change our world. I believe so much in creating a workplace inclusive for everyone, for all employees, regardless of their religion, gender, etc. Promote equal rights, equal treatment, equal salaries, pay transparency. Give them the authority to take decision, because it has a huge impact on their confidence. I also believe so much in female empowerment in the workplace and in our industry. Maybe you share with me, because we have a gender gap in our industry. And I feel this way is a way to drive sustainability in this industry, because those people are giving the opportunities, they are more likely to appreciate it, because of what they believe, that they don't have enough opportunities, so they would work hard to develop and improve themselves. Another call to action, we're often very shy to talk about the success and achievement. And I think we shouldn't. I here would quote someone I highly respect and appreciate. She always says, declare victory. Yeah, and this is my another call to action.
And that's what you were saying, Ambassador, as well. Don't be shy to just, own your achievements. So on that note, I'd like to thank the panel. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences. Perhaps a round of applause. Will we open it up for questions? Yeah. Okay. Sure. So what we're going to do now is just continue the conversation, but we'd love to include everyone in the audience. So if you have a specific question, you please go ahead. If there's someone you'd like to direct the question to, if you just like to share your experience as well, the power of sharing experiences is super important. Yalla. Okay.
I'm not asking to be equal. I'm asking for my rights. I'm asking to be evaluated according to my values and living values. It's not equality. I'm not trying to compare myself to somebody. I don't compare myself to what I am worth. We should start using people as our values.
Did anyone hear? I see it as both. I see both words as meaning different things. I think we need equality and equity, but maybe from a legal perspective. Please go ahead, Siti, and then. Yeah.
Actually, Nabila, that was a long discussion we had at the Royal Committee with the Islamic political party to use equality or to use equity. We had to settle with equity, which on the long run, it's better, because you're talking about the process. Equality is an equity. Equality is the outcome. But if you're looking at it from a comprehensive manner, Yeah, equity, we're talking about the process, the different the steps until you reach the final goal, which is the equality. So actually, as a compromise, thank God, we used equity in the constitutional amendment, not equality.
Anybody else wants to speak to that point? No? Let's hear from the guys. These are the founders of Kitchen-Fry, an amazing topic.
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you, Mary. Thank you all for this amazing session. We are an up-and-coming startup that are currently hiring, and we're trying to hire more and more women within the company. So I have a small question. What can we do? Like, if you could give us 2 tips, not to fall into the stereotypical kind of thinking or stereotypical things that are happening right now, and to be more and more create that support system that you guys talked about within our company. There's like 2 tips you guys could give us.
Kitchen-Fry. The first round is Mickey's Burger. You have to try it. So I'll just speak to that really quickly, but we can take this conversation offline. I think you need to speak to the women that you are hiring or seek to hire to see what their situation is. And then you sort of customize the company is small enough to allow you to do that. It's always sort of not coming from that place that you know better what they need, but sort of just having that conversation with them. It's easy to talk about.
Something I face as they always expect to come with experience. If you assure them that you can train them, experience is not, a mandatory. It also has a huge impact on their potential and confidence.
That they don't have to be perfect. The company can support them through training.
Actually, I find it easier because they can observe your culture better. Because sometimes they come and inherited things. Maybe it doesn't align with what you have as internal culture. So I think if I don't know your business, but if your business doesn't require a long experience, if you can manage to train them, I think it can be a good start.
Anybody else? Any other questions? Marwan, just wait.
Thank you, Mary. Actually, it was very inspiring. Thank you, ladies. What I wanted to say is that there is a takeout, and this is very important, even for me, is claim your success and your story, because sometimes we are really shy of explaining and involving others with what we're doing, and sometimes we fall back because of this. And sometimes I feel that I did that to myself, and I've been shy about things that I have done and worked hard to do, and maybe Reem knows about this more. The other thing is that if we don't really empower women, I work with farmers, and we really train them and empower them, and we see the difference there, and we see that they are now affecting their communities, and they're affecting their societies, and they're taking leadership positions. So we never despair on women, and I think that women, wherever they are, if we really empower them, then there is always a success story. And thank you for this great day.
Thank you, and thank you guys again. And I'm Marwan Abou-Sakha. I'm a co-founder of Kitchen-Fry as well, but I forgot my shirt today. Yes. The question is to the female entrepreneurs in the F&B industry. You guys know the gender gap is insane. So is there any place, entity, organization, or what methods are you guys implementing to be able to address that gender gap? Because it is causing us a real big hassle.
Is it okay if you repeat the question?
Yeah.
The question is to the female entrepreneurs in the F&B industry. The gender gap is insanely big. So when we look at the ratios at our company, unfortunately, due to the industry we're in, we're not being able to find the right candidates from both genders. So is there a place, an organization, an entity, a platform where we can sort of look for candidates there so that we can address the gap in our company as well? Amazing. Love it. Amazing. Amazing.
As far as I know, there is no one specific organization, but we collaborate every now and then with the international and national NGOs to do hospitality programs, non-for-profit, and it's 100% targeted female to empower them to enter the labor market with the top-notch skills. So after the training, what we do is we network with our clients, hotels, restaurants, etc., and trying to give them the opportunity to be hired there. So I'm happy, if you want, we can connect and see if there anyone not hired yet, and then we can give recommendations. I think Luminous University also, you can partner with them to have recommendations.
Luminous.
Luminous.
And Luminous can even customize training programs based on what you need. I think you have it sorted. Master, would you like to say anything? Because we're going to go live to London soon. The food, I'm glad that you come with a different background than Mary Rich one also. Also men-dominated.
Okay, hi. I'm Dr. Yasar Qutaiba. I'm Director of the Screening and Early Detection and Outreach Program at the King Hussein Cancer Center. And I've been a physician there for the last 21 years. I'm a doctor. I'm not a female, okay? So when we book appointments for clients, they are both sexes, males and females. Because my name is not really pure female, they think that Yasar may be a male. So when they come into the clinic, they are shocked to see a female. I tell them, actually, I'm not a female, I'm a physician. Okay. And my gynecologist is a male doctor. Why? Because I trust him. It's not because he's a male I'm going there. And the same with screening and early detection. And when you have any complaint or any family history of cancer and so on, they come and we do full physical exam and we take a full history and the risk factors and the family history and so on. And according to the age and to the complaint, we do the tests. Sometimes males, they have a problem with me because they don't want to give all this information for a female. I tell them, sorry, I'm not a female, I'm a physician. And I have clients, male clients that has been coming to see me annually for the last 15 years because they don't look at me as a female, and I tell them I'm a doctor. And this is the important thing. So sometimes we have issues about why are you a female doctor who is examining men? Well, because I'm a doctor, that's it. And even if I go to see a chest physician, a cardiologist, a gynecologist, I don't ask if it's a female or a male. I ask if it's trustworthy or not. So sometimes we do have these issues, but thank God that things are improving. And now people, when they come, they are asking for a doctor, not a female or a male. And this is what's good.